You are now listening to the Brothers and Lovers Podcast. Welcome. Come on. Stand up, rise up, rise. What you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite. Cause they gotta fight.
Shall I stand by my brother's side? If he's wrong, I should tell him why. Enter battle, we shall ride. Let the world feel our battle cry.
Stand up, rise up, rise. What you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite. Cause they gotta fight. Stand up, rise up. What you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite.
Just recently, in April 25th, 2022, I was driving through my neighborhood, and what appeared to be just a random little, regular day of people moving around turned out to be actually a shootout at about 7:30, give or take. And you know, from my seat, you don't see much. I'm driving, but you can hear it. You see people moving around, and it just so happened that it was a Sunday, and it was a day when me and my brothers were to meet and have a talk. And the topic came up, and lo and behold, for me, it was brought to my attention how numb I was to what was taking place, and it didn't dawn on me until that conversation actually transpired that at 39 years old, that is something that I've grown to be numb to, coming from the areas and the neighborhoods that I've lived in. So let me just give you some. So I went to Google, and I Googled Black Lives Matter, like just like a timeline, right? And in 2013, when Trayvon Martin was killed, George Zimmerman was acquitted. Black Lives Matter, they protested. In 2014, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Tamar Rice, just to name a few. You can Google this. It's on Wikipedia. You just type in what I typed in: timeline for notable events and demonstrations. 2016, Philando Castile. 2017, Jacquez Clemens. All of these things were major things happening in the world where there was someone of African American descent or Black American murdered by a police officer. And here it is in 2022, as I'm driving down the street, something takes place similar to that where no one was killed. It was an interaction between the actual people in the neighborhood. And I went to research it that day, and it didn't hit to the next morning. And it came out into the New York Post. And it was a 5-line article. And the headline was, "Woman caught in crossfire between two groups in Manhattan." The point of me bringing all that up is that I didn't read that anybody protested for it. I didn't read that anybody did anything over it. It's sort of like it happened and then it never happened. So I'll follow all of that to say this. Do we only care about actions committed against us by those outside of our race, outside of our culture, or outside of our neighborhoods for that matter? And with that, I'll pass it on. City, talk to me.
Do we only care? I think, like I said before, like we care to a point. We care about each other, but we just don't. We don't care about each other about the right things, if that makes sense. Like we overlook the things because it's like, oh, you're supposed to be just like me, because of the community. But we're really not. But that with that I give. That's what I say. With that I give. Go ahead.
Damo to Billy, talk to me.
Hey, I think we only care when it hits close to home. Like, if it's not one of our friends, one of our family members or something like that, then we nonchalant to it because it really doesn't bother us. Should we care? We should, because it shouldn't just be Black Lives Matter. It should be all lives matter. Whether it's the white guy, whether it's the purple guy, whether it's the black and blue guy, all lives should matter. But We only care when it's close to home. That's on me.
Hold on, can I take a second of this? Can I on that? Now
Go
you said
ahead. Go ahead.
what is close to home. All right, I want to say, but what about Trayvon? No, I don't know too many people that really do him. What about, you know what I mean? Like, these is people we marched for, but we didn't know.
All right, hold that rebuttal. Hold your rebuttal, Damo. Hold your rebuttal. Hold your rebuttal. Because I got something for that. Brother Hall, talk to me.
I'm gonna say it this way. I think that people have gotten to a place where some of us feel helpless, and some of us don't know how to effectively um, uh, um, do something about it. We learn to talk about it, but we haven't learned much how to. Not to say we haven't learned. We know what to. Some of us know what to do. We just haven't capitalized on it because this requires more than just one person. This requires a whole group, but it's not just a group of people. It's a whole system that we have to affect, and we can do it. It's just understanding the methodology that we need to use in order to make it happen. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, let me just plug this real quick, please. Anybody that's listening or just following as we go, if you feel it, please speak to it. Brother Ron, talk to me.
Hey, brother. It's a couple things. And, first, I just want to just touch what my brother Damo mentioned, about all lives matter. And that is true. All lives do matter. But let me give you this example. If your house is on fire, and I can't take credit for this, but I read it and I heard it and I liked it because it's appropriate. But if your house is on fire, you want the fire department to come. And somebody comes up and says, hey, man, all houses matter. You're gonna be like, yeah, man, but my house is on fire right now. That's why we're drawing attention to it. So I need everybody to come in and pitch in and save my house. So when we say, when somebody says all lives matter, yes, all lives do matter. However, we're drawing attention to the fact that a disproportionate number of black folk, people of color, are getting killed. And so we got to draw attention to that. But second, to answer your first question, do we care? I think we care, but I think sometimes people only want to get active if it's sexy. And unfortunately, a lot of times when somebody's getting shot, a person of color, and if it's getting shot by another person of color, it's just not sexy to us no more. We're becoming we've become immune. You're not immune to it, but we've become conditioned to seeing that, and so it's not sexy. So nobody's jumping up. I'm not saying that's right. But I do think that's where we've come. We've arrived and we've gotten to that point where it becomes sexy. It becomes more important depending upon who's pulling the trigger or who's taking the life. And that's where I think we really got to start to make some changes and recognize that it doesn't matter who's on the other end of taking the life. We've got to stop the lives from being taken, period. And with that, I yield to my brother.
Damo, you was gonna say something to what City said. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. Just hit me with it.
I mean, I think it's only like that when it starts close at home first. The community do it. The mother, the father, the brothers, the sisters. They rally about it, and then it depends on the case. Like Trayvon got shot by the cops wearing his hoodie. It depends on the case. Sean Bell got shot sitting in his car with his girl and his son. We ain't go that hard about it like that. We ain't get rowdy like that. I mean, we did a little something. We said a little for a couple weeks, but it was as big as Trayvon. So it depends on the situation. To me,
So my take on it is this. I'm gonna say I like the way you put it, brother Ron. If it's not sexy, meaning it's not appealing, it ain't something that move you. It ain't something that open your eyes and be like, man, I gotta tune in. You know what I'm saying? It ain't something like Kardashian news. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't something that jump at you. It ain't Ye and K. You feel me? So it's like, oh, it ain't really that. It's not spicy. But I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Like at the end of the day, it should be, or it should be everything that pertains to black matters. Everything that pertains to life should matter. I get what you're saying, Damo, but I'm gonna go back to what Brother Ron said with that house on fire. Our house is on fire. Our communities that we operate, that we function in, that we dominate are on fire. So at this particular juncture, I'm only at liberty, unfortunately, by default, because I'm a black man, to care about that house. I need somebody to come in and put the fire out in this house, because I can't see out the house that I'm standing in that's burning to see the other houses that's on fire. I'm inhaling way too much smoke to worry about how much smoke coming out somebody else's chimney. And with that, I'm gonna move on to my next question. My brothers, brother Harv, I see your hand. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to raise my hand in the chat. But here's the interesting thing. Here's the interesting thing about this. Why do we wait for there to be a fire? Why can't we be proactive so that the fire does not occur? And now here's the interesting thing about that. If I know that something is happening to you and I let it happen, what's keeping you from allowing what happened to you to happen to me?
All right, so let
So
stay. Go ahead, continue. Continue. I'm
yeah,
sorry. Continue.
yeah. I'm saying that to say this. We have to learn to be proactive in our approach, and we have to learn how to safeguard each other long before the fire occurs. In fact, how about this? Why don't we start taking care of each other so we can learn to prevent fires? How about that? And on that, I yield.
Okay, so now that takes me into my next question. And my next question is, do you believe, my brothers, and whoever is out there in the world, like I said, please, if you're tuning in, if you feel it, please speak to it. The world needs to hear it. There's no such thing as an as a dumb thought or a stupid question. It's all relative. Please put it out there. My next question is, do you believe that we pacify black on black crime, injustice, prejudice, or bias? And if so, why? And if not, why? Brother
I like it.
Harv, I'm gonna let you kick this one off.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, to answer your question, go back to the first question again. Do we believe, what did you say? Do we believe what?
I said, do you believe that we pacify black
Right.
on black crime, injustice,
Right.
bias, prejudice?
Now check this out. You haven't considered this? Maybe as a community, we have been programmed to self-hate. And because we self-hate to some degree, what ends up happening is that we don't pacify it. We just allow it because of our own misgivings of who we are as individuals. We don't see our own value. And so therefore we don't protect the value of others. On that, I yield.
City, talk to me.
Uh, do we pacify it? I honestly think to a point, but it's a mental thing. We don't look at it like that. Because understand we're a group of people. Understand, just walk with me. We're a group of people that just come from the bottom, who don't have anything. So understand that we make the worst the best. You know what I mean? So it's like that's why we look at the people who do the worst. We look at them the best, if it makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we know you could do this. Like, come on, how many generations we know if you go this way, you could go this. You could school, you could be good. Non-school, you won't be good. You know what I mean? But it's like I'm come from nothing. I have nothing to lose. So you know what I mean? This guy makes it seem even more better. He get the money that quicker. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's a mindset, I think. But we do. I think we do.
I just I have to step in on that for a second. You know, one of the things that I have to say, brother off city, is that we came from something. We are something. And I think that part of our mindset is that we have to stop saying we came from nothing. Because I am something. You are something. And when we recognize that we are our own greatest resource, and not only are we our own greatest resource, But if you look at culture and we look at the contributions that we've made to this society as a whole, we came from something. We came from so much. We came from so much that there were people who desired to take, and they still desire to take what we possess. And what they did was they have to some degree taken away. They tried to take away the history. They tried to take away the origin of not only who we are, but where these great things came from. And so we believe that we are came from nothing, but we are the creators of life. We are the creators. We are the true originators of society, of health. And when we look at these things and see our true value, then we're saying something.
Brother Ron, talk to me.
Hold on. Let me go back. Hold on. No, I agree completely with you. Don't think I'm not. I'm just going the mindset of us. That's what I'm saying. I believe a lot of us feel that they're not going to say it. A lot of people just feel they can't do no better. You feel what I'm saying? And if you feel you can't do no better, then that's a mindset. That's what I'm trying to say. I do, but it's a lot of us. I do is breaking out of this and showing that we can actually do stuff, and we are from. You dig what I'm saying? Like we have done something, but like I said, with that I hear. Like I said, go ahead,
Brother
bro.
Ron, talk to me.
I just wanted, before I answer, I wanted to be clear. When you say pacify, I just
Meaning,
need.
let me explain what I mean when I say, do I believe that we pacify? Meaning, do we devalue the severity, the magnitude of what is taking place in our neighborhoods when it's black on black? Do we look at it let them to be worth less than, say, when it's someone of another culture, or someone white, or even a police officer who, it doesn't matter what their race is, they're wearing a blue uniform, and then that's magnified when it's someone white wearing a blue uniform. But when it's someone black, it seems as if we deal with it differently, or we view it or define what has taken place differently when we see it real time in our neighborhood. The only time I've ever witnessed someone black treating a situation differently when it was black on black was when the blue uniform had a black body in it. At that point, they're not dealing with the black body, they're still dealing with the blue uniform. So that's what I mean when I say pacify. Have we devalued or taken it less serious when it's black on black versus anything else on black?
You know, and I don't devalue it, but I think what we do is almost turn a blind eye to that problem. We look at it and go, oh man, that's terrible, and then we just move on quickly. The only person that doesn't do that, I don't want to say the only. Let me take that back out the atmosphere. But to that family who suffers that loss, damn it feels the same. It feels the same. It doesn't matter who was on the other side. That loved one is gone. It's been taken, and that is a lost opportunity to do great things for a family, for a community, hell, for the nation. And it's gone. But it seems that the only people who are feeling that loss are those directly affected, meaning that immediate family. But when it seems as though when it's someone else who has taken the life, everybody wants to jump in. Some people are opportunists. They just want to be in something. And then some people, they only move when it's somewhat controversial. But unfortunately, when there is a young, let's just say a young black man who kills another young black man, they don't see that as controversial. I think everyone recognizes that it's unfortunate, it's terrible, it's tragic, but there's nothing, it's not controversial. Now, one of the things that I will say though is in defense of the people who, who are ready to riot, who are ready to scream, is that far too often the person who commits that act, that takes that life, if they're wearing a uniform or if they're of another race, they don't answer for it. It seems that there's no one holding them accountable. No one making them go to court and be punished for it ultimately. So I get that's where it started, but I think we have to go beyond that. As Brother Hogg said, is how do we stop these fires from occurring? I don't think we can prevent them all because as you said, our neighborhood's on fire already. We're on fire, so we got to put it out, and then we got to work towards prevention as well. But we've got to answer the call because it's on fire, and I think we're on fire regardless of whether the person who's lighting the match is a person of color or a person in uniform. Doesn't matter. The burning is the same. The damage, the destruction is felt the same. And so I think the quicker we begin to realize that, then we have a chance to do something about it.
Brother Ron, there's something you said at the end of your statement. I want you to hold on to it. Damo the bully. I want you to get with me, and then I'm gonna jump back to some Brother Ron's. It's a question that's gonna for all of you though. Talk to me.
Hey, let me mix this strawberry daiquiri in this blender real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go back to the house on fire. Now the house being on fire, the black people, they won't throw no water to stop the house from burning. We'll call a white man, which is the the fire department, which the majority is white. So that's out the way. So the black people ain't gonna put the house on fire. They're gonna take pictures and send it to the media. But let's go back to this. Are we babysitting to are we babysitting? Yes, we are, and that's because of the stories we've been told, the movies we watch, the media, the radio, and I'm saying, like, we've heard of Timmy and Jimmy beefing for years. One of them died. We knew that was gonna happen. But once Frank from the fire department or police department shoot Jimmy, it's a big thing. Everybody's Al Sharpton or Jesse James or Malcolm X because it's another color. But when it was the black on black, we didn't care about it because we expected that to happen because we heard from the movies, from the books, from the radio that things like that happened with the black community in the neighborhoods. When a white man comes in and do it to us, then it's a problem. That's what I wanted to say. I think that daiquiri don't need no ice and nothing else. It should be good right there.
And that's why I leave you to make the drinks at the end. Talk to me, Brother Ron.
Said you wanted to come back to me on something, so
yes.
Something I said.
But before you do, I got just say something real quick. Listen to the programming. This programming that we have has been imposed upon us. If you think about what happened during the time in slavery, when families were broken apart, you know it became commonplace for families to be separated. It became commonplace for things to happen in the community, and it was acceptable. And so therefore, the programming that we are dealing with, we're still dealing with the trauma, the PTSD of slavery of the last 400 years, and we don't see it because we don't see the actual change, but the psychological change, the psychological inhibitions, the psychological effects that stuff is left still lingers within us. And so therefore we have to consider the deprogramming and the reprogramming that has to take place. And when we deprogram and reprogram, then we will begin to feel it because we understand why we should. And on that I yield.
Okay. Now, Brother Harv, I'm gonna get back to you on that right after I get to Brother Ron. So, Brother Ron, you said something. You said at the end of the day, just to paraphrase, you said at the end of the day, basically all of our houses, all of the houses on fire, and if the house is burning, more or less, we all feel it. It's all felt the same way. The damage is felt the same way, no matter who is the offender. The person who's being offended, their families, they all suffer the same way. So I challenge you all to think about this. And I just want you to keep your answers, and I'll get back to it. But I want you to just take a second and think about this question. What we're talking about is a house built on a black foundation, where, to what Brother Harv is saying, where we come from oppression, slavery, broken, mentality is broken, the body is broken. More or less in all of that, the spirit is broken. So we not learning, we not churning, we not moving, we not growing. We stagnant and we stuck. So although if Billy and his family, if Billy's family loses Billy, of course that family mourns. If if my family loses me, my family mourns. The mourning, the pain of the loss is that great. But to my community, as a black man, to a broken community, which is what we're talking about, the loss is identified as greater if I represented everything they said I shouldn't be. If I'm a successful benefactor, if I pay my taxes, I'm a hard worker. If I pour out good, if I use whatever God gave me to heal, teach, and build, then that means that regardless of what Billy represents being white to his family, no discredit to him, but to my people who are already who the fire never goes out, it's greater. The loss of me is greater. So now, with that, I'll yield and I'll let you sit on that. So you tell me, do you believe with what I just stated? Do you believe that the loss is greater or is it the same? Think about that for yourself. Brother Harv, I want to touch on something that you said because you make such great points all the time. And this is probably one of the few times you've made me want to play devil's advocate. So let's get to it. I'm going to say this. You said that we when do we turn the page basically, because we need to turn the page because we coming from a lot, we moving from a whole, we moving from a lot, like the slavery 400 years, all these things. But let me ask you something though. Let me ask you something though. I know all the brothers on this panel, including myself, believe that we are suitable enough, we have progressed enough in life to consider ourselves feasible citizens within the world, black, green, or purple. In my black skin, I feel like I'm a man. Nevertheless, I work every day. I give back. I pay my debt into whatever it is that I'm put here to do. And in my prayer, I pray that God see it. I say that to say, when you get sick, you trust the medicine that you go to the doctor to prescribe you to get you better. And you continue to go to the doctor every time you get that ailment to get that medicine for them to get you better. And if that medicine didn't get you better, you wouldn't fill that prescription or accept that prescription for that medicine because it does get you better. The reason why I use that analogy is this. When I look at this panel and I see my face in this cutout right here, I look at 5 black men who are doing what the world says we are not capable of doing, which is maintaining, surviving, and living successfully. So because I see this right here is the medicine that's been prescribed. So it's not, so when I hear 400 years, to me, all of the things that held us back, the fact that we keep reiterating the things as to why we're so held back is the reason why nobody ever moves forward. Because we got to start preaching a different narrative. The narrative can't be what we came from or what held us back. The narrative has got to be, well, where do you want to go? Because if you need an example, you got 5 right here. If you need an example, I got my young boy Damo the Billy right here. So don't tell me that where he come from will stop him from wanting to be on a panel like this. Don't tell me that a man can't be an entrepreneur. My man off city fell asleep, but he here, we made a joke earlier about how many jobs he got, but he handled it and he here. My man Ron, brother Ron, he get him out. He help him get off. He go through the books. How can I help? He not supposed to be a lawyer based on what they say. You're not supposed to have your own business, Brother Hall, based on what they say. You should be talentless. I'm not supposed to be sitting here, even having this platform. This is what we are supposed to be feeding the people. This is the milk and honey that feed the people that are thirsty and hungry. I can't give them 400-year rhetoric. That's not in me disagreeing with you. That's me playing devil's advocate for those who are listening to understand that there are two sides to the coin. They are both vital, both of them. You never pay or buy anything with one side of your dollar. They want the whole dollar, both sides. If your dollar come with just one side with the president's face on it and the back is blank, it's fake. If you pay with just the back side where all the numbers in the corners are small, it's fake. You need both sides of your bill, and it better be authentic. The authenticity that we missing from feeding our people is that we're not giving them both sides. We allow them to make excuses for what holds them back, and we never give them anything to propel them forward. Put your foot. If the house is on fire, what you do? You get out. You get out, and you go get another house. With that, I yield.
Hey, brother
So now I
Larry.
got
Hey, brother
shoot.
Larry.
Talk
Listen,
to me.
I love what you're saying, and I want you to consider this. In order to understand how to get out of what we're in, we have to understand the methodologies that are used. You see, it's very challenging to, if you will, for lack of a better term, beat an opponent if you don't know how they fight. You understand what I'm saying? And I learned that, when you fighting somebody, you gotta know where they are. You gotta know how they throwing their punches. You gotta know how they throwing, when they ducking, when they moving, and all of these things, so that we can properly counter. So when I use the idea of the 400 years, what I'm talking about is the methodologies and the effect that has come from our experience. Now, here's the interesting thing. I'm gonna take you back, and this is what the Lord has given me. The reason why these people did what they did to us is because of our greatness, and so therefore they needed to survive, but they needed to do it at the expense of our greatness. Now, that's one part. So what does that mean? They came and they took what we own. They came and took all the stuff and then separated us from it. Separated us from it. Just claim it as their own. But here's the issue. Because they are not the originator, you gotta at some point come back to the source, so that you gotta come back to the fountain to drink, if you will. And so therefore, when we recognize that we are the fountain of life, when we recognize that we are the power, the life source of this, to some degree, of this universe, at that point, when we take the steps to safeguard what we have, we will then, I won't say be in power, but we will have more control over our situation. And on that, I yield.
I got to
So
speak.
so
Let me speak. Can I speak, brother? Can I speak? Please.
yeah, brother Ron. Yeah, brother
Thank
Ron.
you. I don't disagree with anything Brother Harv has said. However, I got to throw this however in there. The problem is, because this is not discrediting anything he said, but the problem is us. The problem is us. What I mean by that, the problem is us because we tend to have long-term solutions for temporary problems, because somebody can listen to this podcast and agree with whatever we're saying, but have a temporary problem. Somebody says something disrespectful to you, to your mother, to someone that you care about. And rather than address it as a short-term problem it is, we come up with a long-term solution. We take somebody's life. We hurt them. We do something long-term. So somebody can sit here and hear everything that Brother Larry is saying, Brother Harv is saying, Brother Damo is saying, Brother All City is saying, say, yo, that's right. That's 100% right. Walk out their apartment, see somebody has done something, and say, yo, I'm getting ready to handle that. They forgot everything that was said. They forgot everything about houses on fire. They forgot everything about we being the originator. That, all that is gone because they're about to employ a long-term solution to a temporary problem. And that problem is with us. And that's what we have got to change. We've got to change. We've got to do better. So that's my thing. Back in the days, when Brother Harv and I was coming along, somebody stepped on your shoes, that was worthy of getting beat down for stepping on somebody's shoes. Now you get killed. You do something disrespectful, you get killed. Those are long-term solutions. You're going to pay for the rest of your life. One person's life is ended, you're going to be held accountable for the rest of your life for that situation. So everything that Brother Harv has said was 1,000% correct. Don't disagree with it, but we have to face facts. A lot of the problems that we are dealing with, it's us. We have to change. We have to change our mindset. We have to change and want to do things differently. Because if not, our houses are going to continue to be on fire. Yes, it's going to be sexy when a police officer comes and does something and creates a fire. Yes, it's going to be sexy when a person of another race or another culture does something to us, and then we're going to protest. But that pales into comparison to the number of our homes that are being burned to the ground every day, and we're the ones lighting the match. So we've got to change. And with that, I yield.
Hey, Brother Ron.
Hold on, Brother Harv. Give me
Okay.
1 second. If I could just bring it full circle. So for those who tuned in, who didn't tune in on time, the topic tonight is why don't we feel it? And what brought this topic along was the fact that I was driving through my neighborhood and witnessed what I didn't know at the time was a shootout happening, and it just prompted me to go look into the newspaper and check to see if it had hit the news the way everything that Black Lives Matter had protested about between the Trayvon Martins and the Philandro Castros and all of those things that the Eric Garners. And to my surprise, it didn't take place that way. There was no protest in the neighborhood for the black on black crime, where it just speaks to two gangs having a shootout and an innocent woman being hit. So that's what prompted tonight's topic. Please, if you have anything that you want to share, anything you want to ask, if you feel it, tune in. Now, before you get into a Harv, I do have a question that was proposed via text to myself personally from Danielle. She asked, so what do we do? Where does the reprogramming begin? What does that look like? Where do we start? How do we begin the reprogramming process for our people? Because we have all spoken to, the idea of change needing to happen. And that all impacts whether or not we feel it, because it starts with how we perceive what is taking place in our neighborhoods. So where do we start to begin the reprogramming of our minds and our understandings in the way we define the idea of what change, trouble, and positive progress looks like, so that we do feel it? Go ahead, Harv.
Good D. Good D.
I think it just starts with you. It starts with you taking accountability of your actions. Meaning you take accountability of who you hang out with, that's an action. Take accountability of what you do, that's an action. Take accountability, and it's just, how can I put it? It's you have to give your bar. You have to know like you said in the beginning, you have to know where you want to go. Like, you feel me? So once you know where you want to go, that bar where you want to hit, you start doing the research to figure out how to become that. And when you all right, break it down. It's just, you have to morally put yourself. You have to have a moral bar of your own. And once you have one, and don't flare to anybody. Like, just keep strong. Like, if it's something that you don't believe in, it's something you don't believe in, take that walk. If that means you got to sit by yourself, chill by yourself. Like, and I think that's the issue with us. We don't want to be by ourselves. A lot of us can't even sit by ourselves in a room by ourselves. And that's where I think it really begins. Because we don't like ourselves. It's really just how I feel. Well, brother.
Thank you, brother. The reprogramming starts with the deprogramming. And the deprogramming starts with, first of all, recognizing, like you said, changing the narrative. But how do we change the narrative? We spend so much time focused on the negative instead of looking at all of the positive things that are happening in society. Acknowledging the elders. And I'm not saying every old person is an elder, because when we're looking at the elders, we have to look at and acknowledge the wisdom. And in that wisdom, when we see that wisdom, then what we need to look at is saying, yo, you know what? This person over here, they have successfully, they successfully grown their business. This person here successfully navigated the system. You know what? Here's the interesting thing: the powers that be, they work so hard to separate us. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is they have methodologies that they use to separate us. If we want to change that, the deprogramming comes with when we begin to recognize these tools that they use and counter those tools, and then be willing to feel uncomfortable with changing the programming. So that means that, if I'm used to letting stuff ride, I'm not gonna let it ride anymore. If I'm used to letting people disrespect me, when I say disrespect me, if I'm used to letting people just say certain things and I just take it, I can say, no, my brother, no, my sister, that is not okay. I am not okay with you hurting my feelings. How about this? Let's begin to acknowledge I have feelings. I feel sad today. I feel hurt today. And I don't like what's going on because it makes me uncomfortable today. That is a start for the deprogramming and the reprogramming. Because once we begin to acknowledge that we have feelings, then we can start not acting on those feelings, but begin to examine those feelings so that we can be appropriate in our approach.
I have another question from Danielle. That question is, do you feel like we need to advocate for our black people sitting at the table politically to help defend our communities? Anybody care to take a stab at that?
Hey, I want to say something about the deprogram and reprogram. I think reprogram starts now. Like we gotta celebrate and shout out and and have proud and be proud of the people that's succeeding now, the young black people that's in college, that's getting master degrees and things of that nature. Not just the rappers, not just one that's just being a basketball player. There's, like you said, there's entrepreneurs that's young. The elders, like I just sat and just listened to the elders. I'm not saying y'all all old, but what I'm saying, I know y'all got some gray hair over there, but I'm just saying, I just sat here and listened. It's the wisdom from the elders and the stories that we keep talking the same story, slavery and this, that. We're not talking about that no more. I mean, we've heard that years in, years out, over and over and over. The same song gets boring after a while. So we got to start reprogramming now, celebrate now about life. And I mean, we taking our losses, but we still succeeding. And with the table, the I don't know, I'm gonna leave that with y'all.
So I'm gonna take a stab at that question that was presented in reference to needing someone at the table, the political table, to defend our communities. I think that's a huge part. I think that if we look around now, you don't even know who to turn or who to call. You wouldn't even know without Google. You wouldn't even know what to type in. You wouldn't even know where to find a phone number for who's representing your community, who's sitting at the table, making sure that the kids get lunch in school, that the parks get cleaned up. You don't know what's going on. We don't even know who's the police chief at the station, the nearest station near your crib, near your house. Like you have no idea. And that's because like you said, the constant narrative, the constant thing that I keep hearing is we program. We become desensitized. It's the normal. It's like it's almost like it's not a matter of whether or not it's respectable. It doesn't need to be respectable in order for it to be acceptable. We just accept it because it's what we know. It's the easiest thing to understand because what's understood don't need to be said. So it's almost like, well, you know. So then if you know, then there's nothing else to it. Like brother, like the term that brother Ron kept using, which sits with me, it's not sexy. It's like what you need to who you need why do you need to know who's sitting in the big chair at the station when you don't even trust the cops? Why you care? If you don't believe the president care about you and where you live, why would you care to go vote? If you think the mayor is in cahoots with the police officers that do us dirty, then you even care to vote for the mayor? Why you care who the mayor is? So I challenge you to this. You still should care. Because it's not a matter, go back to what Off City said. It's not a matter of who you vote with. It's only a matter that you go vote. You set the trend. You step out and be able and what to Brother Hall's point, be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable because sometimes doing the right thing is uncomfortable. I watched a video. I watched a video at work that showed one man. It's a beach full of people, and they're playing music, and one man runs down and just starts dancing real crazy. Not really, you call it dancing, but he just flaring his arms and he moving real silly. And the video speaks to how brave that person must have been. And they said it took no bravery for that one person to go out and do and dance and all that. You know who's the brave one? Person number two, because they thought that what person number one was doing wasn't that bad, and they got on board. It took a whole lot of heart to go follow what you ultimately thought was something crazy to do. We start the trend and make the people that see it be like, you know what? It's crazy, but I think he got something. I think he on to something. Yo, my last question, fellas. If the goal of our people is to come together and progress, does our community deserve the same energy fighting crime and violence, bias and prejudice, homelessness, teen pregnancy, as it does as what we would as what's considered the enemies of our community, as it does the external enemies, that being the cops, the white man, anything that we deem that oppresses us? Does our community and the things that we face deserve the same energy from us that we put out into everything that's happening from the external stuff that's coming in? Because it seems like we only rally when it's something infiltrating what we have or where we're at. But what about all of the turmoil and toxicity in our camp?
I love to answer that. First of all, I want to bring. I'm gonna answer that point, but I want to go back to what you were saying. Um, Part of the methods that are used to keep us disenfranchised is the lack of when I say civility. If we don't understand the civics, if we don't understand how government works, then you don't understand the people in government that can help to make the difference. And so therefore it goes back to what you were saying. You know, if you focusing only on the president, then you're not focusing on city council. City council controls the school system. City council controls the police department. City council controls the police chief. So whatever municipality that we are in, when we understand the inner workings of those offices, then we can begin to have say. Now here's the other thing. To vote in itself is not enough. We must intelligently vote, meaning that as a community, and this is the purpose, was one of the purposes of the church. The churches used to come together and rally people together so that everyone would be on the same mindset. So when they went to vote, when they went to do these things, they went with a certain consciousness and a certain accountability that we all needed so that we would all be on the same page. Now, isn't it funny how these days, you know, they take, not that they take, but black men, some of us are not even interested in the idea of church. Some of us are not even interested in the political agenda because we don't understand it. And the reason why we don't understand it is because we're not being taught it. And so, and when we're not being taught these things, they not say that they leave us because we are still recipients of it. We just on the other end. So it's important that we know that. Number two, accountability. Accountability is so important to our living. When we make ourselves accountable and hold people accountable in our communities, then we change our communities. Meaning this, I don't care if it's my cousin, if it's my mother, if it's my brother selling drugs. If you're selling drugs in the community and you helping to devalue the community, then it's my responsibility to say and to do something. Why? Because when you are selling drugs to that person in that community, in our community, you have just helped to create a weak link. And we are only as strong as our weakest link. So it's important that everybody in our community is strong. And on that, I yield.
City, I see you bobbing. Talk to me.
Now, he said everything. I agree with everything he said. Like it's the truth. How can I put it? Like if you go to the white neighborhoods, they sell drugs too, but they got to be more discreet. If you out in the open, they're gonna call the cops on you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I totally agree. Like, it's the one thing that we don't take accountability. We pass it down to the next person. We always say, hey, just say, oh, I got this amount. Well, this person got this. Like, it's always somebody worse. Like, we measure ourselves to the bottom of the barrel instead of the top. With that idea.
Damo, give me 2 minutes, Damo. We got 5. Minute and a half if you can. Give it to me.
Uh, I think shit. Damn, pardon me. But I think as black people, like, we gotta like take accountability for our own actions. We gotta, you know what I'm saying? We gotta call a spade a spade. We gotta call a jack a jack. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Let's do that. You know what I'm saying? Let's share the love. Let's be rowdy, and let's come together about everything, not just one thing, not just one person, not just one household. Let's come together for all houses that's burning on the block, not just one. Give it back.
Hey, Larry, before real quick, I just want to say this real quick. 2 seconds. If we're gonna ask a brother to stop selling drugs in the neighborhood, we got to find a position for him that is equally possible for him to do, so, or her equally to do, so that they can make money and still be in control of their lives. You can't ask somebody to give up something and not give them something in return. That's all I want to say.
Brother Ron, take me home.
But I think we got to get to the point that we ask ourselves what matters. We as a people, things that matter to us, nobody can beat us at doing those things. If it matters to us, whether if it's a hustle, nobody can beat us at the hustle game. If it's a scam in the streets, we can perfect it. If it's our clothes, we make the best. We will design it out of nothing. If it's our cars, we'll make them run. We'll make them look good. So my point is, when it comes to things that matter, we will give all the proper energy, all the proper focus, direction to that thing, and we will excel. We have to make change in our communities. We have to make saving our lives matter. We have to give great importance to that. And the last thing I want to say is, none of us can control what happens to us, but we have full control about how we react to that. I just want everybody to remember that. I'm gone.
All right. Man. So I'm going to say this. We'll bring it back full circle. Why don't we feel it? After all that I've heard myself say and recollect in all that you brothers said tonight, and I pray that everybody, whether you felt it or whether you heard it early or late, wherever you chimed in, whatever you heard, I pray that you felt something here from what was said. I believe we do feel it. I just believe that where we feel it has been misplaced. I believe we've defined what takes place in our neighborhoods to not necessarily be normal, but there's a degree of helplessness that goes along with how we interpret what takes place in our neighborhoods where we live, in our schools, in our justice system. When we think black, we automatically think loss. When we think black, we don't associate winning. We don't associate overcoming. We don't associate being victorious in any sense. And I believe that is because we do not take into account that we still are standing. And we have taken the value away from the fact that we are still here with all that has been done, with all that the history has taught us about where we have come from. We have closed our eyes and allowed teachings of all of that just ridiculousness from the pages. Those white pages have black words on them and they describe us. And they have talked about us in a past tense. to where we no longer see that we exist presently. We still live in the past oppressions, and we have not navigated to present day where we still strive, where we still survive. And we're not just surviving. Some of us are living. And now it is time for those who are living to extend the olive branch to those who are surviving, so that those surviving can extend an olive branch to those who feel spiritually and mentally dead. And that chain, the one will pull the other, and the second will pull the next, and the next will pull the last, to where we will all touch the top of the mountain, 10 toes down, heads high. My brothers, I love you all. I'm so grateful for this platform. You have no idea, because where I come from, I talk too much. I talk too much, and I always think I'm right. But I pray to you, I swear on everything. I do this for my kids, man. I do this for my kids, because I got 2 black boys that the world can't have, because the world didn't give them. With that, I yield. I love y'all. Thank you. This is a great show.
Yes. All right, before we get out of here, let's give some shout outs. Shout outs to the Father's View. Shout out to Tough Stuff Productions. Shout out to Life in Phoenix. Shout out to Star City Cleaning. Man, that was a good discussion we had today. Man, that was really deep. Next week, well, we're coming back in 2 weeks. We gonna hit y'all with a topic later. Don't even stress, just keep us open. Y'all know what we doing. We out here. That's it. Y'all know my
King
thing.
Noah, Elijah, I love you, baby. I love you.
Walk in love and live in your blessing.
Doing it.
Yes.
Rise up, what you gonna do about it? Get your mind up. Okay. How you gonna move about it? Get your shoulders right. And you get right to it, and we unite.